This is the story of a frog's life. Once upon a time there was a frog. The frog was very, very happy living in his home on the isthmus of the fork of a major river. One side of the river was very swift and fast, the other was very calm and still. The frog and his family preferred to live and play in the cool, calm waters, finding all their food and always being able to survive and live and do everything that they needed. The frogs were very happy until one day man came into the situation and started dumping and creating a mess on their isthmus, and oil fell all over. The frogs were losing their habitat, and suddenly some of the frogs unfortunately fell into the river, into the swift water, and were rushed and flushed away. This made the frogs very sad because now they were living in polluted water with all the oil that was washed down with them and continued to be washed down every single day. Now they lived in very dark water, and because of this, predators could see them easily and would snatch them up for their food. Because of this, the frogs began to be very, very sad and wondered how they would survive. That is until one day, because of the pollution, a mutation occurred in their genetics, and one of the frogs came out brown. This was thought to be very strange to the frogs until one day they realized that these brown frogs could not be seen by the predators. And so, after time, that brown frog became very happy because he had lived, and he began to reproduce. And as he reproduced, more frogs with the brown skin began to show up. And those frogs survived even longer than those who had the green skin because they could hide in the murky, polluted water. Now, one would think that all the problems were over for the frogs, but unfortunately, having more and more frogs who could blend in led to another problem. They couldn't find as much food because more and more frogs were surviving. Until one day another mutation occurred, and the frog showed up with big, giant eyes that could see through the very dense, dark, murky, polluted water. Because of this, he could find more food and was able to spread his genetics further down, and those genes began to develop even more and more into the population, until one day there was only frogs with those big, giant eyes. And all those frogs, they were able to find their food a little bit better. Now, eventually, you would think that these frogs would come together and see their ancestors, and one day, one of the brown-skinned, large-eyed frogs was hopping and found one of the descendants of his initial population from the small isthmus that was polluted, and they looked completely different. Because of this, it had been so long, they were no longer able to breed. The end.